Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're playing Maelstrom. It's a Battle Royale ship-to-ship PvP game. If you've ever played Sid Meier's Pirates or Pirates of the Burning Sea, the mechanics here are going to feel super familiar to you. You've got 4 ship quadrants, so you can attack on either side. Each quadrant also has its independent armor. You can attack the other ships with cannonballs, chain shot, grape shot, ramming, or boarding. Each have their advantages and disadvantages. So that was just a real quick intro to the game, and now we're going to jump into the action. So it's a PvP game primarily. There are a couple little PvE elements. These other ships, these smaller ones in front of me, they're not player controlled, but they do drop upgrades that are going to help us deal with the other players. So when the game starts, you have a couple different options. You can look for these NPC ships and kill a couple, or you can start eliminating other players immediately. So right now I've got an orc ship. It's very maneuverable, very good at ramming in close quarters, and it's a high crit build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out some of these little ships, and then I'm going to go and start looking for other players to mix it up with. I've played a couple of these pirate games in the past, so I'm fairly comfortable with the mechanics of maneuvering these ships and jockeying for a good position. So as soon as I get a little bit of an upgrade edge, I'm going to start looking for other players to attack. So just a couple elements on the screen. On the far left, you can see my health points. Each quadrant of the ship has a different armor value, and then the ship itself has hit points. And if an enemy manages to destroy all of my armor on that side, he can then manage to, or begin to start destroying my ship directly. So here we're still just kind of looking around, getting some of these NPCs, and I know there's an enemy on the other side here, because that ship was badly hurt. And looking at him, he's a human ship, and he's actually a human heavy ship. So trying to come out this narrow corridor to try and engage him would end up getting me a lot of damage. That's a bad position to engage from, so I actually back off and I come around the other way to see if I can head him off and start getting into a fight with some of these other guys. A couple players have been, engaging each other already. No one's been killed. Oh, the first couple players have actually been killed. And so we're going to go in and we're going to start actually fighting some of the other players. Here we're seeing a couple boons, as they call them, or buffs that have been dropped in the ground, and a couple other players that are here battling. So they're kind of distracted battling each other. We're just going to do some quick maneuvering and start sending broadside after broadside. The way I have my ship set up is I'm using cannons that reload very quickly so that I can quickly maneuver and bring them to bear and get a lot of damage in fast. I do sacrifice a little bit of armor and mobility, and you can see there I go in with the ram for the finish, which also lets me collect the buffs. So other players can pick up the buffs from the ships you kill. Here the ship that we saw earlier actually comes up, and you can see that he starts to board me. He launches his sailors over, he launches a couple grappling hooks, and does damage to my crew itself. Probably not super smart. Orcs tend to be really good in close quarters. And he actually manages to kill the other ship. But since I'm so much more maneuverable and so much faster, I sneak in and I steal the repair and I steal the boon. And now he's in actually a pretty bad position because we've been fighting and he didn't get the bonuses from the kill he got. So he's kind of in a bad place and he's missing a couple key shots. A great big broadside isn't the best if you don't hit your target. So here, once his health is down, he makes another mistake. He's got no armor on this side, but he grapples me anyway, which lets me fire a few more cannon shots once they get reloaded, right into his unarmored section to finish him off. So I'm running an orc captain, and you can put different captains on different ships, and they give you different special abilities. The one I have right now makes my crew extremely strong, and I can, for a certain amount of time, make them deal extra damage in boarding. And it kind of surprises people because I'm not running one of the orc ships that's really designed for boarding, and it catches them off guard. And being able to surprise your opponents can go a long way in this game. Here we're seeing another couple guys who are fighting, and a couple more guys come out of the fog, so this actually turns into a pretty big dust up with 3 or 4 ships. 2 of them go down right off the bat, and now we got to kind of balance who's attacking us with who can we damage. We take a pretty bad broadside there, but To make up for it, we end up killing that other ship, and we get to pick up all its loot because they're too busy boarding each other, and now they're both kind of dead in the water. That guy boarding the other ship kind of screwed them both, um, and put them both in a bad position. Now he did get the repair there, so he's got a little more armor and he wants to be aggressive. But he actually does me a favor right there, where he jumps right into combat and he bumps me out of the path of that other boat. So now I'm coming back in. I kind of missed my broadside a little bit, but I make up for it on the next pass. And now we're starting to use chain shots. So we're both maneuvering a little bit more than the other would like. Neither of us can really get the advantage since we're in very similar ships. So we just start doing some sail damage, and you can see here I'm moving much, much more slow. And since I'm moving so slow, I want to kind of give my crew a chance to repair, but it doesn't look like that guy's going to let me. And he comes in and he gets a really good ram off on me. Ramming in this game is dependent on the speed that you're going. So if you can get some good speed up, or if you can get into one of these slipstreams, like you can see is a little bit of fast moving water, then you can really do a lot of damage with the ram. And here it kind of, he keeps trying to ram me, but all it's doing is exposing his weak side to me. And he had picked up a lot of boons. I'm actually maxed out now. And this other guy that we're fighting, you can see that he might not have as many, so he's a little wary, and it's just me and him. It's down to a 1v1 situation. And I've got most of my health. My shields are repairing. I've got maxed out, pretty much maxed out standard buffs, and also a storm buff, which gives you a little bit more bonuses. And I know that I can get in, and with the amount of damage I'm doing on each pass, he probably doesn't have a whole lot of buffs. You can see there I try and board him, but it's not successful. And he's kind of limited in where he can go because the black water is closing in. So really I'm just maneuvering around him, getting some damage in, and just making sure that I don't take any unnecessary risks. And, using that strategy and going and fighting and making sure I get plenty of loot and boons, I'm able to secure the victory over 12 other players. Or 12 players total. I managed to kill 5 of them and get a huge amount of gold. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like or subscribe or comment if you want to see more content.